Let us now discuss how can we solve this problem. So 24 game, this is a hard problem, right? So we are given with an integer array cards of length 4. That means we only have 4 elements in that. Now you have 4 cards each containing a number in the range 1 to 9. So the range of every card will be 1 to 9. You should arrange the numbers on these cards in a mathematical expression using the operators plus, minus, multiplication and division. So addition, subtraction, multiplication and division, right? So and what we need to go through this, and parenthesis open and closed to get the value of 24. So if we can get the 24 by using only these 4 cards, placing these 4 cards in such a way and placing operators like plus, minus, multiplication and division in between this, and also place these parentheses, right? Now by doing so can we build an expression which equals to 24, which values to 24. So without wasting our time, let us just take this 4187 and explore what are the possibilities. 4187. So first, let us see that can I take 4 and 1 and do some operation in middle and make this 87 outside. So this is I'm saying that this is one possibility. I'm just saying it as a possibility, right? So I have 4 and an operation and 1 and some operation and something like that. Now can I take instead of 4 1, can I take 1 and 8? I'll tell you what I'm doing actually. Instead of 4 and 1 getting into one side, I am taking 1 and an operation in between them and 8. Nothing but I'm just placing an a parenthesis between them. But for your understanding, I just placed a square brackets. Now I have 7. I will also place operators here, but let us wait how we can solve this. So firstly I got this one, and second I got this one. Now instead of taking these two, can I take these two? Yes. So for 1, instead of taking 1 and 8, I am taking 8 and 7. Now tell me, what are the operators that I can place here? Plus, minus, multiplication or division, addition, subtraction, multiplication and division. So for every operator I have 4 operations, or every place here I have 4 operators that I can place, right? Now this evaluates to some value. So, for that, I'll tell you, instead of writing it as 4187, I am writing it as PQRS, right? So, P, one operation between P and Q, and left out with R and S. P, Q and R, one operation and left out with S. So, P, Q, R, and S is with an operation, right? So this is how I am representing. Now, this P and Q, let me take this value as P, and I have R and S. Now, Q and R, I am saying it as Q itself, PQS. Now, PQ, I have R, right? So I am saying it as R, right? Now, let us see that I have P, R and S. Now, here firstly I got P, Q, R, S. Now I need to place operators in between them. I placed or picked only 2 elements and placed an operator and got a value, right? So that's how I get this 2 elements, right? And then an operator and an element, an operator and an element, right? So that's how the parentheses work, right? So I have P, Q and S. Now for this PRS, I can place operator between P and R and left out this s, just leaving that s aside. Now p is left aside and r and s is made as operate. That means an operation is done between them. P and Q, the same thing. P and Q, S, P, Q, S, right? P and Q, and left out with R, P, Q, R, R. So, if you see, these values are not similar. They aren't similar. I said Q operation with some operator with R gave me Q. I am just saying it as Q. Instead, let us say it as P1, Q1, R1. So R1 here, R1 here, Q1 here, so Q1 here, so P1, P1. Now, from this P1R, let me take this as P1R as P2. Now I am left with only S. Now I can place only one element, one operator, either plus or minus or multiplication or division, which will be giving me the answer of 24. If it gives me 24, I'll return true here, return true here. That's what, if this returns true, then I'll return true here, and then I'll return true here, and this will be returned at the last, where I got 4187 here, 4187. But this is only for 4187. I can also place 1487. I can also place 1847. So I can place for all permutations. I need to get all the permutations, right? Now, after getting all the permutations, for every permutation, right, I did only for 4187. Now I can get another permutation like 1487. For that one also, I need to get all these operations, right? So here, what I'll do is, let me just write the algorithm for this. Firstly, let us sort the cards, right? And why? First thing, if it is valid, I'll tell you how this will be explored, this will be validated. So return true. Now, while in C++ STL, we'll be having next permutation next permutation of cards. Now, while next permutation of cards, if is valid, I'm just, so instead of sorry, here it won't be cards, it will be something like, we'll be changing to the next permutation, the cards will be changed. So cards dot begin comma cards dot end, right? So if is valid, if the cards are valid, then return true for every permutation. I am checking now for all the permutation, I didn't get any true value, so I'll return false. First thing, how can I go with the first is valid function? So first thing, I went with four values, one here and another here. I'll tell you how. So bool is valid. First thing, I have cards. So vector of int cards. First thing, I am changing it to double so that I get the values, right, which can be calculated, so that it will be having minimum 0 point something like that, 0.00 or something like that, so that we can return true at the end. So double, P is equal to cards of 0, Q is equal to cards of 1, R is equal to cards of 2, S is equal to cards of 3. Now, I have PQRS. Now, first thing, what I did, I'll tell you. I'm writing another is valid function with another things. Instead of cards, I'll be having in the is valid function, I'll be having double values. So is valid. So here it is the important thing which we need to consider. So I got PQRS. What I did, P and Q, one operation. No, plus, minus, multiplication and division. Let us write for that. So if is valid, P plus Q comma R comma S, right? If it is valid, or is valid p minus q comma r comma s, or let me write it here, is valid p into q comma r minus s, or is valid p by nothing but division p by q comma r comma s. So if anything out of this is valid, so return true there itself. Now there is another thing. If is valid, I have P. So I just got this Q and R, right? So I need to place there also plus minus multiplication and division. So Q plus R comma S is valid. P comma Q minus R comma S, or is valid. I think my writing is not so good, so don't worry. I'll be giving the code at the end. P comma q by r comma s, if any of this is valid, return true. And I have left out with only one thing. So if is valid p comma q comma r plus s, and then r minus s, r into s here, r by s here, if any of this is true, I'll return true. So this is the first is valid function. And what about the second is valid function? So here I got four elements, the total cards, permutations of cards, so that I returned PRS, P1, R, and S. For that, I got two things, right? So, firstly, let me name it as P itself. Let me name it as Q itself. Let me name it as PQR, right? So, whatever it might be, I got the value P plus Q. I'm just naming it in the function as P, and R as Q, and S as R in the function, right? So, and then I'll write it as P sum operation Q and R. P Q sum operation R. So let me write it for you. First thing, wait a second. So here I am having the second is valid function. Now, what are the things I got? Double. First I got only three elements, p q r. That's what I told you. Double p, double q, double r, right? So what I just sent, right? So I just sent with if is valid, another is valid function with only two elements. I'll tell you how. So is valid p and q, operation between p and q. So p plus q comma r, or is valid p minus q comma r, or is valid p into q comma r, or I'll tell you I need to do another thing, but let me write it, is valid p by q. What if r becomes 0? Let me just say that from p, from previously I got 1 by 2, then I would get the answer as 0, right? 1 by 2 I get as 0. Now what if the q value is 0? So that's what the problem. Then I would get the runtime error. So q is not equal to 0 and is valid, then return true. So this is the one thing. We have covered this, right? We have covered this. We need to cover this, right? So if is valid, again p comma q plus r, q minus r, q into r, q by r, only if r is not equal to 0, then return true. So if not, I'll return false. However, so here return false, also here also return false, and here too return false at the end. Now I got the operations of from this, right? So I got P2 and S, only two elements. I need to write the third is valid function. Now for that, I will place plus minus multiplication and division operations. So if there I got true, then I will return true. That's how the recursion works here. Is valid, I have only two elements, double P comma double q, right? So if p plus q minus 24, if it is equal to 1e minus 5. 1e minus 5 is lowest value. So that if p plus q minus 24, if it is nearest to this lesser value, or p minus q minus 24 is equal to 1e minus 5, or p into q minus 24 is equal to 1e minus 5, or p by q only if q is not equal to 0, and right here I need to place or minus 24 is equal to 1e minus 5. Then if any of this is true, then return true. If not, return false at the end. Return false at the end. So if I have to write this in order, sorry for confusing you with the order. So I have this function, right? Have this two functions, so I am placing it over here. However, I'll be giving you the code link in the description. Go and check it. I think you understood about this. Go and do something like how can we dry run with the example one, so that you can understand a little much more about this problem. It is nothing but taking a less time. So how many permutations that I can get? So I have four, so totally, like this 4 I can place in how many permutations, right? So 4 factorial is nothing but 24. Now 24 into how many times, like how many operators I have, right? 4 operators. So I can place plus, plus, minus, multiplication or division. So totally 4 cube, which is nothing but 64. And I can place this parenthesis in between them. I think mostly this doesn't exceed with more than 1500 permutations, so it will go with the brute force solution. So no need to worry about this. So this is how you solve this problem, and if you like this video, do share it to your friends and do subscribe to my channel. Thank you.